What is up, everybody? Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that movement. The team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 500,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And you are watching The Morning Vibe on March 30th, last Monday in March 2026. And where has this month gone? I mean, it's just like, poof, gone. And it's done. And good to see the ghost in the machine, Mr. Ryan Knight. What's going on?
Things are pretty good. Always good to see you and enjoy the morning vibe.
What's going on in your world?
Have we gotten our mugs yet for the morning vibe?
Nope.
We have to put out a call to get our mugs.
Yeah, we need our mugs. And I was speaking with Mr. Lawrence of Frequency Event Promotions. He told me something about during your event. Oh, we're this, and this. I go, okay. So he was on me especially for not getting stuff to him. And now
for the quote, right?
Pardon me, wait. So when he comes on, I'll put a message, Frequency Promotions, TikTok, and not the platform. What's been going on in your world?
Yeah, for just a reminder for those that might be seeing me for the first time, my name is Ryan Knight, or Sir Ryan Knight, one of the co-founders of the Afro Caribbean Business Network. So we support entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage the business is in and help them create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. And I am an entrepreneur myself. I do run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile, waterless car cleaning. So we go to people's houses or their offices and clean their cars on the spot without using water, and our plant-based, eco-friendly cleaning supplies. And I got to talk about a bit of my entrepreneurial journey on a show of a friend of yours. Not sure if you saw. I meant to send you the picture. So Juice Man Jonathan Shaw, I was on his show on Sunday to talk about. So I'll send people the link in. I'll put it on the Discord. I was able to capture some of it, but yeah, it was a great conversation. And the main question was, how do you balance work life with home life? So I'm curious, what strategies do you use, Dr. Vibe, to make sure that work doesn't overtake everything from at home too?
Well, it's interesting. A gentleman that I do work with, he doesn't like the term work-life balance. He calls it work-life integration.
Hey, yeah.
Because he says, how many people really have the work-life balance? It's a great catchphrase, but how many people really have it? Now, people will attempt it, but how many people have it going on? For me, because I work at home, one of the key things I do every day is at least take a 15-minute nap.
Okay,
Just block things. And when I'm in a little bit of a rut, my go-to is having a shower.
Okay, right.
And
yes.
Another big thing too is making sure to separate business and emotional.
Okay, because one thing that always comes to my mind is knowing how to turn it off. It's like when you get home, it's so easy to just work 24/7. So being able to say, okay, the phone is upstairs charging, I'm downstairs with the family, so there's no distractions, and not just coming home to go into another Zoom call, actually interact, especially if you've been out for the most of the day.
Also, another thing, I 99% of the time do not schedule back-to-back meetings.
Gotcha.
Always like to have a 15-minute period of grace. Also incorporating meditation, and also another thing too, that there's a chair in my house where I go to where I just sit and I do nothing.
Right.
So I either do a 15-minute nap, and as we're speaking, the weather is going to get better, especially in the summertime. I will make sure I have lunch outside on the veranda. So just outside enjoying somewhat fresh air out there on the veranda. So how about yourself?
The naps I love as well, and having breaks in between meetings. And I try to bulk my meetings into 1 or 2 days so that it's not meetings like every day. I need days where I'm just like creating or working on stuff and not in a meeting, because a meeting, it warps your creativity, like especially if you're trying to get stuff done in between meetings or after a meeting, because then you're thinking about the meeting or you're preparing for the meeting, so you're never really giving my brain space to just work and get actual stuff done. So I try to put them onto specific days instead of sprinkling them throughout the whole week.
One other thing I love to do, I'm a fan of 11-minute meetings.
Okay.
I
yes.
believe
I thought it was 12 minutes. Is it 11?
11. And I'm a strong believer. For me, I can get what I need done in a meeting in 11 minutes or less, maximum half an hour. Now it can run longer, but when I'm calling a meeting, I like 11 minutes or less, because I get everything done. Because if I call them, I remember in the past I had 1 hour meetings that I called. Man, I don't need 1 hour meetings.
Exactly.
Half an hour and ideally 11 minutes. Bang, bang, bang.
Yes.
That is an interesting thing. So Fitness IQ Cam says, morning. Also says, I miss naps. Yeah. And she goes, in regards to the long meetings. Yeah. Well, that's just me. Everyone operates do their business ops differently. So that's the jam. That's the jam so far this morning. All right. Nice. Let's get to, because I know you have to go to the top of the hour, and Emma has to go to the top of the hour. So we're going to go right quick into stuff we got to get done today. So let's do what we got to do. My mouse is behaving. Here we go.
Toronto, July 25th. The Narrative Power Summit is landing in the 6. This is about ownership.
This is about controlling our story. If you're serious about narrative power, strategy, and ownership, this is the room you need to be in. To get your tickets, go to africandiasporanews.org/Canada. I'll see you in Toronto.
Will you see her in Toronto? Will you see Dr. Vibe in Toronto? Will you see Philip Scott in Toronto? Will you see Emma Ansah in Toronto? Will you see Demetra Kay in Toronto? Will you see Theo in Toronto? There's so many people. And Emma's going to talk about that in just a moment, but don't miss this event. And it is going to be a huge event. And whether you're in media or not, I suggest if you look like us or you care about people like us, that you're at this event. Important. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. Join our Discord group. Email me dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com or click on the link. Also, advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm a part of. Email me dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. Can't forget Indie Soup TV. Dr. Tatchie was on the platform on Saturday. She was also on the platform on Friday. So there was a Dr. Tatchie weekend. So she runs and powers Indie Soup TV, independent content creators platform with over 28,000 subscribers on YouTube, which makes subscriber-wise her YouTube channel in the top 4% of all YouTube channels. And a lot of stuff you see here, you'll see on there. All right. She's on every month. This month she's on the last Monday this month. And there was 5 Mondays this month, believe it or not. Though last month there was 4 Mondays of each day of the week last month, but she's back when we can get a hold of her. Emma Ansah's in the house. What is going on, Emma Ansah?
Hello, gents. Nice to see you again. And you're right. I was like, oh yeah, there is 5 Mondays.
It's always good to see you, Emma.
Yeah,
nice to see you, Ryan.
Let's get you talk about the ADNC Narrative Power Summit.
Oh my gosh. So this is going to be a vibe and a half, okay? We're talking about narratives, our narratives, controlling our narratives, media literacy, controlling our voices, our destinies, talking about Black media and the importance of it, the importance of independent media. independent Black media, controlling our stories. So that's high level what the event is about. And then, of course, with Philip Scott coming, founder of African Diaspora News Channel, then we got Demetra Kay, we got Theo Wilson, we got Wangel Zelalem, then we got us here, me, Dr. Vibe. We're all going to be in the room, okay? And we have, for African Diaspora News Channel, for those who don't know, I'm also a journalist on African Diaspora News Channel. We've got a large audience in Canada that watches us. So Phil was like, you know what? I think it's time for me to come and say hello to the people in Canada and, break some bread, wave at some people, shake some hands, take some photos and all of that good stuff. And then, of course, live music, food, a whole vibe. We got the black carpet. We're going to be able to walk the black carpet, take some memories. And some really good things going on. Really, really good things going on. It's going to be a nice vibe.
Emma, I've got to say thank you so much for making the conversation with Demetra and Philip happen. The one with Philip was amazing. Now, Demetra's was crazy because it got a lot of views live. Here's crazy. So it got a lot of views live, kept them up, and still got more views. And then I repurposed it again, and it got a lot of live views.
Wow.
So I've reached out to Demetra, and I've sent her a thank you video message to see if she'll come on once a month because she's a powerhouse. Like
she is.
Like it's one of the highest viewed conversations I've had this year has been Demetra and Phil.
They're both forces, literally.
Absolutely.
Like we have meetings every other Monday, and I'm literally a sponge. Like I've learned so much in the 3 years that I've been on this, working with. I've learned a ton. So and you never stop learning, because in this YouTube averse, as I call it, things ebbs and flows and things are ever changing. So you got to always stay with the tide. And, Phil is a great teacher, and just watching Demetra and the OGs of the channel do what they do. It's like, I'm just like.
Yeah. And people know that I say periodically, I do video thank you messages. Well, I sent one to Phil, and Emma can confess because I sent it to her to send to Phil.
Yep.
And I know that he'll appreciate. I have a feeling he'll appreciate.
He does. He absolutely does.
He doesn't get those too often. And
no, he's just so humble. Mm-hmm. So, he's not going to put it out there or anything. He takes it in. He's grateful, and and he's just, yeah.
I felt humble having I think I told you when we were offline, he calls me sir. I'm going, this guy has 19 to 20 million people coming to his platform, and he's calling me sir. I'm going,
Southern gentleman. Yeah, Southern gentleman.
100%. But people, please check out. I know July feels like a long, far away. It isn't. Ryan's Blue Jays swept the series over the weekend, so spring and summer are around the corner. So make sure you get your head into things. All right.
Gotta call it. We're going up to 17 degrees today. Spring is here.
For a day
17?
Or two.
I'll take it.
For a day or two. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's, we have a specific topic we want to chat about today. And we have a little video to give a little background. So we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Today, we're talking about a vote at the United Nations that should have been an easy moral decision, but instead, Canada chose to abstain. Let that sit for a second. The UN recently voted on a resolution recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as one of the gravest crimes against humanity. This was not a symbolic side issue. This was about history, truth, accountability, and whether countries are willing to confront the legacy of slavery in a serious way. And Canada did not vote yes. Canada abstained. So the question is simple. Why? Main point, for a lot of people, especially Black Canadians and people of African descent, this kind of vote lands hard because slavery is not ancient history. Its effects are still present in the systems, institutions, and inequalities we deal with today. So when Canada abstains on a resolution like this, people are going to ask what message that sends. Does it mean Canada is uncomfortable with naming slavery clearly? Does it mean the country is avoiding the next conversation, reparations, repair, and responsibility? Because that's really what this is about. A vote like this is not just about the past. It's about whether a country is ready to tell the truth about how that past still shapes the present. And for Canadians watching this, especially Black Canadians, this is not just an international headline. This is personal. It connects to how history is taught, how anti-Black racism is addressed, and whether Black life and Black suffering are taken seriously in public policy and political life. Discussion question. So I want to put this out to the community. Was Canada trying to be neutral here, or was abstaining just another way of avoiding accountability? Because sometimes silence is not neutrality. Sometimes silence is a position. And if Canada wants to be seen as a country that stands for human rights and justice, then people are going to expect more than abstention when slavery is on the table. Close. So let's talk about it. Why do you think Canada abstained? What do you think this vote reveals? And what should come next?
All right. We have a little bit of background video here, and we're going to be chatting about today UN slavery vote. Why Canada abstained with Emma. So Emma, kick it off for us.
Well, first of all, I will say that I'm not surprised. I would have been surprised if they voted for it. So I'm not surprised. I would say when you're asking the why, I would say probably the first thing is probably it's a hierarchy of atrocities, like using the word gravest, the gravest, right? Crime against humanity. I feel like Canada feels like that implication is like it's a lot. There are other grave things that have happened in the world. So why are we naming that the gravest? So the phrasing was one of the problems. I think the second thing is the legal implications that go with that, which means reparations. And it's like, well, hang on. We don't want to be paying no reparations. So you want to call this the gravest thing of, against humanity of all times. And then the next thing is we need to pay. Ooh, I don't know if I want to do all that. And then I think the third thing is also, I'm just going to sort of summarize it, is you're talking about something in the history that happened in history, and you want to bring this to the past and try to hold us accountable. And we don't really feel like we need to be. Okay. So that's, I think, to me, I feel like those are the three main reasons that Canada chose to abstain. And Canada's doing what Canada does, which is, I'm just going to duck. I'm going to skirt. I'm not owning this. So that's my humble opinion. Okay. And that's just based on, reporting on all of the things that happen and have happened in history, knowing we have over 200 years of slavery, knowing that soldiers were told we're not going to fight, this is a white man's war, and everything that they went through, the number 2 construction battalion. I mean, the history goes on and on. We know that Prime Minister Trudeau issued a formal apology to the number 2 construction battalion for everything that they went through. We know that the highest ranking officer in the Canadian Armed Forces today also recently issued an apology for the continued anti-Black racism that goes on in the Canadian Armed Forces. But the apology and them feeling like they've acknowledged this past, present, and future, and we have all of these recommendations of how we can make it better, is I feel like they've absolved themselves, right? But the history is the history, and slavery existed here in Canada. So to think that you can just skirt it and say, I'm abstaining, cop out. I'm just going to say that in the nicest way possible.
I'm curious your thoughts on them abstaining versus just saying no. Because if the wording they don't like and the additional maybe legal implications are what they're fearful of, why not just say no? Why abstain and be kind of passive aggressive with their response?
That's the answer. Passive aggressive Canada, right? I think it's, if I say no, then that really doesn't look good for us. But if I say I'm abstaining, it's here are my reasons why. So it's kind of like, maybe this is something we can revisit. Maybe it's something that if you change some of these things, if we're able to not have to be held accountable for reparations, if we're able to not make it seem like this is the gravest thing in humanity. There are other things that go on in the world. If you're able to if we can kind of work around all of those things, then maybe we might be interested. So I think it's more like we're just sitting this out.
Mhm.
So we're not going to say no, because no will really not look good for us, right? I mean, I've always said that Canada is more of a covert racist country as opposed to overt, where the United States, they said it with their whole chest. And that's typical of the United States. You get overt every day, all day there, right? They're not afraid to be who they are or say what they think and all of those other things, where Canada loves to keep it systemic, baked in, covert, micro, macro, So abstaining to them is the cleanest way to do it. That's my humble opinion, not the opinions of the Dr. Vibe show.
Thank you. Wipe the brow. All right. Let me ask. So do you feel that Canada was being careful, or was it avoiding accountability?
Both. You're avoiding accountability, and you're being careful in your answer or your response in order to avoid accountability. Right? So that's what I think.
And I noticed it said it passed 123-3. So are those 3 nations that said no?
Correct. Argentina, the United States, and Israel said no with their whole chest. Okay.
And then 52 nations abstained.
Correct.
UK and some EU states.
In Canada. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And 123 were for it.
Right.
So we were talking about this in our group chat at African Diaspora News Channel's group chat, and we're like, okay, so these are the countries that I will visit, and these are the ones I will not. But then I posed the question, because I also covered this for today's report on African Diaspora News, and the question was really to our people, because for the longest time, a lot of people didn't know about the fact that there was over 200 years of slavery here. They didn't know the fact that there were a lot of people that were either freed or escaped slavery and were living in Canada. And a lot of them built a lot of this country. And a lot of people don't know that, right? So I put that question out there. What does that mean for Black people that live here, knowing that we went through what we went through? And by the way, it's not only Black people, it's the Indigenous as well. Went through what we went through. And what does it mean when a country that you live in, that you make indelible contributions to, some people that are Black were born here? What does that mean for us? What does it mean for the people coming up after us? What does that mean for us? And what does it mean for us living here? Should we be living here? Should we be contributors of this country, knowing that this is, basically how they feel? I said this before we went on live. I mean, this is really, you're just flipping us the biggest bird ever.
Wow. But I'm curious your thoughts on what would be like the best response in your eyes, because for example, in the US, we had Pastor Bryant, no, oh my gosh.
Jamal Bryant,
yes, who now was part of the boycott of Target. And so we've seen in history how powerful like economic movements can be when we strategize and organize together. So now seeing this, and you mentioned like, hey, this just created a list of countries I'm not going to go visit. That's tourism dollars. What would be in your mind like a perfect response when the Black community sees something like this?
Well, it's typical to what you just said, which is how when we come together and unify and empower, the way that we can make things happen, right? I think we need to tap into that power. And people who are non-melanated, they know the power. They know the power that we possess. And they know when we get together in numbers, what we can do and the changes that we can make. Unfortunately, we're so divided, right? So we have to get to a point where Pastor Jamal can step up and say, let's do this, and Black people do it. We, as Black people, contribute to over $1 trillion in spending power. So imagine if there was, I always say this, sometimes I think about this pipe dream, okay? I say, imagine if there was a mass exodus and every Black person, 1.5 million in Canada now and counting, were to just say, okay, bet. You don't think that, Canada should be for the declaration of the transatlantic slave trade, knowing that you took part in it, should be labeled as the gravest atrocity against humanity, and you have decided to opt out? Imagine if everybody said, cool, we're going to go Jamaica, Trinidad, we're going on the continent, we're leaving, and we're taking all of our resources, all of our experience, all of our talents, all of our money, everything, and we're leaving. What would happen to this country?
Right.
If I have permission to jump in here, it's really interesting because I was speaking yesterday with someone and I asked them, do you feel that, like, in a lot of Black Americans have said we've checked out, this isn't our fight anymore, we've just checked out. Do you feel from your lens that Black Canadians are taking the same sort of thought process? You know what? We've checked out. Like,
they've been checked out. Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you think about, now I'm not going to say all, but there's definitely organizations that are fighting for, our rights, like Parents of Black Children, for example. They advocate for our Black students in school that go through anti-Black racism and all that. There's a lot of organizations that are always fighting for our rights. The problem is, oftentimes you have to go through all these processes, right? Like, you file a complaint with the Canadian Human Rights Commission, then you wait, and oftentimes those bodies are relying on it being such an inconvenience for you, like years and years and years tied up, and they're fighting back. You hear about the $2.5 billion class action lawsuit that's going on with the Black Secretariat against over 50 years of anti-Black racism with the public sector. And, their case was thrown out. So now they filed an appeal. And so, again, it's been years. They've been fighting for years now. There's over 45,000 members in that class action lawsuit and counting. So this stuff exists, but the reliance on it being an inconvenience, and then the time and the money and everything that it takes to really keep this going, keep this fight going, can sometimes just be taxing. Sure. And then you have a group of people that are like, look, I worked real hard to get where I am, and I'm the only one of this color that's in this position. I'm not muddying my waters. So I'm just going to be quiet and make sure I put food on the table. Times are hard right now, okay? So you've got groups of people that are like, you know what? I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to work. And then when I'm ready, I'm leaving and I'm going to go to the continent. I'm going to buy land. And, so there are people that are saying, I see you, Canada. I see you. I got my game plan. So they may not say anything. And then you've got people that are just not vocal that way. They're not interested in using their platform to speak about what they think or going on Instagram or Facebook and writing anything. Some people just don't want any smoke. I'm here for the smoke personally, but not everybody is. So there's, I think it's kind of hard to put it on one thing. I think there's a lot of scenarios that fall under why.
This vote, getting back to this vote, does it feel like a step back for the anti-racism progress you've fought for in the past, present, and going to be in the future? Is it a step back for you?
To me, it's more like it fuels me personally, because it's like, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to look for every single case to prove that this is a thing, okay? And then secondly, I've made it my mission to really do a bunch of series on the history of slavery in this country, because what I'm not going to do is allow this vote to stop us from teaching about what has happened here, right? So for me, it fuels me. So, but as far as step back, I mean, it is a step back, but a step back for me is a step forward. A step back for the country is a step forward for me.
What it makes me think of is all those that voted against it and abstained, they must know what the actual gravest atrocity in the world is. So I'm curious, like, what, okay, if not this, what is it? Because you guys have done some evil stuff throughout the world. And clearly, if we think it's this and you don't think it is, tell us, what do you feel is the gravest thing? I'm curious your thoughts on, do you think it's because they actually don't believe the wording? Like you said, how they put that wording in might, like, well, we've done much worse than this. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, yeah, I feel like they feel like this, like, who are you to make this your measuring stick, to say this is the worst thing, right? But when you look at it, and I don't know if anybody's been to Ghana, I have, and I've gone to the slave dungeon. You know, that to me was, once I got to a certain age, because, you know, going as a kid, you're just going to play and stuff like that, right? But when you go as an adult and you're woke, if you will, you start looking at the history, right? And I don't think there's anybody, except for maybe there was a group of some real ignorant people that decided that they were going to go on the top of the slave dungeon and twerk. But that's a whole other story for another day. But I don't think anybody can go to the slave dungeon and not be overcome. You know, you can't possibly be overcome, or sorry, you can't possibly not be overcome with emotion, because the spirit and the energy, and then learning about what really went on, learning about the millions and seeing the spaces that these slaves were in. And, you know, just being surrounded like salmons in a can with their own feces and everything else, and all of the atrocities, because that is the word, that they went through. I don't know what else. Not to say that there haven't been atrocities that have happened, like Rwanda. And there's a lot of things even on the continent that have happened, and around the globe, as we said. But I think it's one of those things where you really need to educate yourself on the transatlantic slave trade and really understand and be in that space. I always say, if anybody ever travels to the continent, you need to go to Ghana. You need to go to the slave dungeons, because it really will open your eyes. And I think people will really understand that this truly is the most gravest. And because it's not even a one-off, it's something that happened over a long period of time. And we're talking about human lives. We're talking about human beings that were like, I'd rather drown myself than go through what I'm going through. You know, just the conditions. It is indescribable. You literally have to be there. So yeah.
Dr. Tatchie's in the house, says, good morning, all. Also says, this story makes me beyond annoyed. Well, Dr. Tatchie, you're more than happy to call in. You know the number, because we always like to call in and chime, because I know you've got one or two things to say about this. Let me just.
Did I answer your question, Ryan? You know, because I can really go. I'm just thinking, did I answer your question?
Yeah, it was more like, I'm curious your thoughts on, do they just think they've done worse? You know, like,
yeah, you know what? And that's a really good question that I would like to ask Bob Ray, because I believe Bob Ray is the one that actually casted the vote on behalf, because he is the permanent ambassador, UN ambassador for Canada. Mm-hmm. So not saying he made the final decision, but he was the one representing Canada to put in the vote. So I would love to ask that, whoever the steering committee is that made that decision, I would love to ask that question. By the way, Canada, what do you think was since you feel like this wasn't the gravest, and, you know, calling it the gravest, what do you think is? And definitely don't talk about anything that happened here. That's anyway close to in comparison. So yeah, you're right. I would love to know. I personally think it's this, but.
Okay, so we're going to put up a poll, and I don't know, the software thing is a little bit funny this morning, but I'm going to put up a poll, and we're going to do this. Should Canada apologize for abstaining? So if you're watching live, please vote. 1 means yes immediately. 2, no, it's politics. 3, only if reparations follow. So we would love anyone to vote on that. Also, Minion Cam, pardon me, is in the house. Good morning, Minion Cam. Hope you are fine and safe. All right, people are voting. Love it.
Mhm.
So there we go. There we go. People are voting already, saying only if. So what do you think about that question, Emma? Only if reparations follow.
Yeah, I don't want an apology, to be honest with you, because they've apologized. Oh, we're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry. I don't want apology. I want action. Never mind, cut a check. That's it.
Mm.
Don't apologize anymore. Just cut the check.
Mhm.
What I would like instead of apology is just acknowledgement, acknowledging that this was the gravest, acknowledging that you as a country took part in it, and then acknowledging that we need to make Black people whole, and then cut the check. That's me is accountability acknowledgement. I want to talk about another thing that a lot of people don't know about, which is, I would say, maybe middle of last year, Canada scrubbed a lot of lakes and creeks and rivers and valleys and what have you that all proceeded with the N-word. So it was N-word creek, N-word river, N-word this, N-word that, and they quietly scrubbed that away. So this is par for the course, which is we're going to just quietly do this and not say anything, and just get rid of it. Make it go away before being held accountable, right? So it's very important that accountability is what happens. Acknowledgement and cut a check. Stop trying to quietly erase things and then hope it gets washed away in the trees, so to speak.
Gotcha.
So Minnie on Cam is in the house saying Canada's default is to apologize, and also says
Yep.
Canada won't admit that they failed to collect race-based data. This is just another thing they can avoid.
Facts, Minnie.
All right. And
That's what it is.
everyone,
It's avoidance. It's just, you took the coward route. You did.
I want to thank everyone who has voted. I appreciate that. So our question right now, should Canada apologize for abstaining? 25% say no, it's politics. And then 75% say only if reparations follow. All right. Good stuff. I got more conversation pieces, but Ryan, I always let you go ahead of me.
No, feel free.
Okay, so this is very interesting. How does this compare to other times Canada's avoided Black history accountability? I don't know if you've done any research. It sounds like you've done some research, but how does this compare to other actions like this that Canada has undertaken?
Well, I don't think they've taken anything like this on. I mean, aside from, what happened with the Canadian military and them, I guess quasi taking accountability and apologizing for it. Some people were apologizing in tears, and then I saw Black people clapping, and I was like, stop. But anyway, I don't think I really don't think there's anything else that compares. There isn't.
All right.
I mean, we know about systemic things that have happened, but again, like I said, there's a process. You got to file your complaint, and then you hope for the best. I can't tell you the amount of people that have reached out to me to say, I filed a complaint with the Canadian Human Rights Commission, and I've not heard anything back. Can you tell my story? Can we continue to put this out there? Because that process, they're also responsible for anti-Black racism, and they've acknowledged that. So we are expected to go to a body to complain about something against us as Black people who have also admitted that they are also responsible for it. So you're asking a committee who's also responsible for it to fix what they're also responsible for. Make it make sense. Exactly. So anyway, Dr. Vibe, sorry. The short answer is don't
apologize.
There's anything else. I don't think there's anything else, personally.
Okay. All right. So a few things. So I'm gonna shut down this poll because I got one more to put up, but so here's the results to this poll. So we had a question of should Canada apologize for abstaining? 20% no, it's politics. 3 only if reparations follow. So we're gonna stop that poll. Those are the final results. And then I'm gonna put up another poll, and then I'm gonna invite a friend here. So next poll we have here: how does Canada's vote make you feel? 1, angry; 2, disappointed; 3, not surprised. So vote if you can, please. And then also, caller, bring your voice into the conversation, please.
Greetings and salutations, my fine fellows and lady.
Dr. Tatchie's in the house.
Good
So
day.
we're gonna
Greetings,
turn it up
Dr.
another level now. Here we
Tatchie.
go.
Oh, you know what? You hype up my presence so much that I'm like, damn it, I can't disappoint now. But thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Tatchie, please.
Well, first of all, I'm just ecstatic to be on at the same time that the great Emma Ansah is on. This is just a delight for the entire week. My entire week has been made. And so
Oh, stop it now. No, keep it coming. No, listen. The pleasure is mine, Dr. Tatchie. I'd love to hear your voice, and we have to do more work together. That's just a side note.
the answer is always yes. So now you know. And
Yay!
you, Ryan, as well.
Thank you, Dr.
You
Tatchie.
too.
Go ahead, Dr. Tatchie.
Absolutely.
Roll it in.
This whole thing is a giant annoyance in my back toe. I don't even have a back toe. So that just lets you know how annoying this is for me. The moment and here's the thing, we have been so complacent and we are the world for so long that we are shocked and flabbergasted when this happened. And this is the interesting thing. We're so focused on the 3 non sequiturs, the 3 irrelevant countries that voted no to this resolution, that we forget all the abstentions. And of course, you're talking about Canada today, but 52 countries abstained from this. To me, in this case, an abstention is the same as a vote for no.
Exactly. You may as well just said no. It's just, it is.
Said no.
I always call Canada, it's the polite racism response, you know, because that's what we like to refer to Canada when it comes to racism. So I agree with you, Dr. Tatchie. I do.
It's that nice nasty, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
The passive aggressiveness of the thing. You really don't agree with it, but you don't want to be seen. See, it's all optics as well. You don't want to be seen as the country that said no. It's clear the U.S. doesn't give a damn. It's clear the country next to Western Asia doesn't give a damn. And it's also clear that Argentina is their puppet. So I'm really not surprised with them. But at least, as deplorable as the Book of 3, I'm going to call them, are, at least they came out and said that. I don't know if you ever read the Book of 3 in elementary school. I did. But, yeah, it features a pig named Henwen. So anyway, so very fitting. The Book of 3. So
like I said, they said it with their whole chest. Yes.
A whole damn hairy, ugly chest. They were loud and proud, loud and wrong, and loud and proud. So, but, you know, I'm not surprised. It does not preclude you from my disdain and my scorn or the world. But we know who you are because you've always been this deplorable. But, and this is why I say Europe is weak. They have shown weakness along this entire thing, just in general, when it comes to the struggle and the scuffle in the so-called Middle East and everything. They have just shown absolute weakness. So of course, it's almost as if these countries are still hanging on to hope, well, oh, the US is not that bad. They're going to turn around. So we don't want to do anything to annoy them or do anything to wreck our relationship. They wrecked the relationship and they've been doing it, but you all are just too cowardly to do anything about it. And I have to say this, I do realize that often these bodies, these governments are not speaking for the people themselves, the entirety of the people. I do realize this. At the same time, there is not enough condemnation of this type of thing by the people. If you look at Ireland, and this is where people were really surprised when they came to Ireland. How are you abstaining when this is your history? They used your country as the blueprint to carry out a lot of these atrocities. So Ireland, you're really abstaining? So it's surprising, but not surprising, right? Because the fact that you've gone through some level of oppression does not automatically mean that you are going to be sympathetic when others go through oppression. So I could keep going on, so I digress. Go ahead.
That's okay. So just doing a reset here. We're here with myself, Ryan, Emma Ansah, and Dr. Tatchie via audio. We're talking about UN slavery vote, why Canada abstained on the Morning Vibe. Ryan, Emma, anything you wanted to add after Dr. Tatchie laid it down?
I mean, she said everything. It's like she climbed in my mouth and just started taking everything out. Right, Dr. Tatchie, you were literally in my mouth.
I've never heard that term between Emma and Dr. Tatchie. I always said Dr. Tatchie needs to do a dictionary. I think now Emma and Dr. Tatchie climbed in my mouth. Got to leave that. Man, that's good. Sorry to interrupt, Emma. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when you think about it, just more recently with Bill C-9 being passed and literally rammed through. And this is something that they've been fighting to really put into law. And this affects the religious freedoms of people. Okay. So depending on what you tweet or what you say on the pulpit, if it's considered to be hate speech against the alphabet soup community, for example, you can spend up to 10 years in jail. So we are spending time doing these kinds of things, taking religious freedoms from people. More than 12 employees in the province of Quebec have lost their jobs because they refuse to not wear their hijabs. So you're taking these freedoms away from people, and you have the caucasity to sit on this stage and abstain from something that was the gravest. So it really baffles the mind that these are the kinds of things, these are the kinds of freedoms that you want to take away from people. And you are a country that is responsible for slavery against people of color. And you continue to feel as though you shouldn't take acknowledgement for something that to me seems to be like modern day slavery, to be honest with you, just a modern day version of it. So that's what just mystifies me. It does. What do you have to say, Ryan?
Well, I was curious the reason about the legal thing, and that is them looking into the future and realizing if Black people ever get organized enough to come after us properly, they're doing things now to protect them from the future. So I don't know if people realize that. Like, everything that they're doing is in response to how organized we need to be, because there's no legal action happening right now that they're talking about. So what are they talking about? They're talking about the potential of, if we organize and actually put this to a proper process of going after them legally, everything that they've done to date can be used against them, including this abstention of the vote. So we have to really realize that the more organized that we get, we can actually push through these things. And I saw in the chat, like, what is the solution in the end, or at the end, or from this? We have to organize. Like, there should be an organized response to this vote. I don't know, Emma, you can let me know if there's an organization that had a formal response to it. We aren't
not
organized,
so far,
right? So
not that I know.
I think we should be learning about, they're defending themselves against an organized Black community that doesn't even exist yet. When it actually exists, we're going to be able to go after them so hard, but we're not even using this evidence that they're giving to us in our lap to go after them, because that type of organization doesn't exist yet. I'm not talking about an entity. I'm talking about the organization of the community and of ourselves.
Yeah, because we've got organizations and they're kind of standalone fighting for certain things, right? Like Parents of Black Children, like the Black Secretariat for the anti-Black racism in the workplace. Then we got anti-Black racism in the education sector. So you're right. But I will say they've also put in measures to protect themselves should somebody want to go after them legally. So we have to be able to, like you said, that doesn't mean we shouldn't. That doesn't mean we shouldn't. Because if we have good representation, good legal representation, and the power in numbers, we absolutely can. I just wanted to put that in there that, they always make sure they protect themselves, right?
Exactly.
And you know why? What I said earlier, which is banking on it being inconvenience for us, right? So
if I have permission to jump in, Minnie on cam says Britain also abstained.
Yep.
And then she says, if they deny, they can find a way to repeat it. Interesting point. And
they probably protected themselves too.
Yeah, Minion Kent says many organizations work in silos for many of the services they are fighting for. So it take a lot of work together on this.
And the willingness to, oftentimes you reach out to certain organizations to say, hey, do you want to join in on this? It's like, I'm focused on this, so there has to be a willingness to. It has to feel important enough. It has to feel impactful enough. And maybe, I don't know, maybe if you're a parent and you're looking at your child and you're saying, okay, what's their life going to be? Maybe it's those kinds of things that might, incentivize a person to say, I think I need to be involved in this,
Okay. I know you two got a listener, so we'll get final comments from you, but Dr. Tatchie's on the line so she can continue on with this conversation. So I'm going to do some quick things. I'm going to stop this poll. And here's this poll saying, how does Canada's vote make you feel? 100% of the respondents said not surprised.
That was mine. I wasn't surprised at all.
So I'm going to put up another poll saying, what's Canada's biggest issue here? 1, avoiding slavery history. 2, blocking reparations talk, or 3, weak on Black justice. 1, 2, or 3, please vote. So I know that I'll hear Minion Cam as another comment here, and many organizations are always claiming they never have the resources for something because of the government funding cap them into one project. For both of you, I know you got to leave fairly soon, so I've got a conversation piece for you then. Maybe 2. All right. So first of all, do you see reparations gaining traction in Canada after this?
No.
Okay.
See, I would say yes.
Really?
These are things that can be rallying points of inflection. Like this happening can cause a conversation, which we're having now, that we can actually get to organizations and say, hey, the Canadian government is afraid of legal action for reparations. So we need to do it now. Like, why wait until the future of what they're fearing for us to just figure it out? Why not actually, just like you said, Emma, do it? Obviously we can protest and we can do things outside of the traditional walls of the law, but inside the traditional walls of the law should also be actioned as well. It needs to be on the books. What you were talking about with the Secretariat, they now have on record, even though initially it got thrown out and they're appealing, it's on record what Canada stands for. We can't let the passive aggressiveness just be, like, they really get away with being passive aggressive. They can be that nice, nasty, like I think it was you that said it, Emma. So this should action the true process of what reparations looks like. I don't know if it already has been actioned. Whatever the conversation, wherever it is now, this vote or this abstination of the vote should give them some fuel, or it should spark us to now take up this fight. And again, maybe we follow the lead of the Secretary, like whatever they did to get this, their lawsuit in motion, the reparations conversation should get in motion too.
Well, I will say shout out to Nicholas Marcus Thompson, because he really is the one who spearheaded this whole thing. I mean, I've been following this story for 5 years, and in the beginning, it was just him. And now he's put together a wonderful team that is working alongside him. And, he's got So I just wanted to shout him out. He's actually a friend of mine, and I appreciate and see the work. So I will say that. But okay, let me just rephrase. Traction, yes. We'll be able to stay the course. That's where I feel like again, it's the inconvenience, it's the work involved, it's the tenacity, it's the willingness to keep going even though you continue to hear no, like Nicholas Marcus Thompson does. He's been told no, they are constantly in court, it's getting thrown out, but they're not stopping. So it's got to mean enough to you, it's got to matter enough to you to say, I'm going to challenge this country. And that's where I feel like, I would like to say yes, but I'm going to wait and see. But I will tell you what, I'm going to continue to use my voice and my platforms to shout it from the mountaintops. And if anybody wants to join, hey, I'm here.
Well, that's why we thank you for being able to come on the show, because these are things that are happening around us that needs to be spotlighted. And once it's spotlighted by you, we need to be able to use this information and education that we're getting from you.
I will jump. Yeah, if I have permission to interrupt. And I think one of the things when you look at a lot of U.S. media, especially from the federal government, they're flooding the zone. There's so much flood of stuff going on here. Stories like this at times will get not even thought about. That's why, again, independent media,
the importance,
it's even more important. And I'll just give a perfect example. On Saturday, Dr. Tatchie and Lala talked about a story that, check this out. How many people realize this, that the U.S. Treasury has regarded the U.S. as insolvent? Oh, yeah. And now people are watching us this live or on video. If you saw Ryan and Emma's faces, they went, what? If you're listening via audio replay wise, their faces went, are you kidding me? Yeah, they declared the U.S. is insolvent.
Wow.
Did mainstream media cover it?
No, of course not.
Really? So this is why support for journalists, or maybe I would say truth sayers like Emma and myself and Dr. Tatchie, you have to come to us, because mainstream media is going to cover what their bosses think is important. And their bosses are also a lot more and more in mainstream media are answering to certain individuals. They're not answering to the everyday citizen, let alone the everyday Black person. So I just wanted to put that in there. I know both of you got to run. Any final comments from both of you before you leave today?
No, listen, just thank you, Dr. Vibe. I know you go hard in the paint all the time. You bring people on, you allow them to tell their truth and their facts, and to surgically, dissect and slice people up. So I appreciate it very much.
Slice people up, but we'll take that.
I just mean surgical, like with our news and our delivery.
And also, I want to make
let me not. I'm not inciting violence. I don't want Toronto police at my door, okay? Because it seems to be they're doing that nowadays. So we just gotta. No, thank you. And Ryan, I still owe you a phone call. We're coming into spring now.
Yes.
And every time I get in my vehicle, I'm like, yes. And then also, I just wanted to talk about, in the beginning, you guys were talking about kind of your daily rituals of how you kind of unwind yourself. And I would like to weigh in on that. I would say, for me personally, when I wake up in the morning, I do not pick up my phone. So I will spend time just laying there, a good 30 minutes, just take some deep breaths, just calm yourself, meditate, just, say your prayers, just take some time, because once you pick up your phone, it's chaos. It's chaos.
I haven't forgotten you. I hope you're still there.
I'm still here.
Okay, all right, no problem.
And for me, as somebody that's a journalist, I'm pinged with 50,000 stories every day, right? So I know for me, it's as soon as my blood pressure is here, right? So that to me, I think everybody should just take a beat before, just lay in your bed, do your thing, whatever it is you do, just lay there, play some music, just chill. Give yourself 30 minutes, then start your chaotic day. So that's my thing.
All right. So before Emma leaves this, you can catch on YouTube,
Emma
Ansah Unfiltered, African Diaspora News Channel, and Emancipation Media. Also, get public relations, getpublicrelations.com, email GhanaianGirls@gmail.com, and the Daily Scrum News, dailyscrumnews.com. And Mr. Knight, you get a hold of him at RyanOneilKnight.com. That's Knight with a K-N, not an N. Both you have an outstanding day.
Bye, everyone.
Tatchie.
All right. Okay, Mr. Ryan is here, and I am here. So, Dr. Tatchie, you're still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Fantastic. Well, I'd love you to continue the conversation because I know you have a few more things you want to say. And before I bring you to speak some more things, some comments we got to get done here. So, we have Norman Radio says checking in. Good to see you as always, Norman Radio. Also says shame on Bob Ray. We have the same doctor. Also JJ Mars from Colorado. Good to see you, JJ Mars, saying Canada's view is carbon copy of America's view regarding reparations. And JJ Mars says American government has been broke for decades. So we are caught up on our conversations. Dr. Tatchie, what would you like to add on our conversation today?
Well, I actually have a question with regard to reparations in Canada. What does that look like? Is the call for reparations for enslavement?
There hasn't been a strong push for it. So I have to be honest, I'd have to look it up because I haven't heard enough of a strong formulated call for it, and I apologize on that, but I haven't seen a really big strong call for it, to be honest with you.
Interesting. And I don't know enough about that myself, but my thought would be that obviously there are people that are descendants of enslaved people
absolutely,
from the Americas that are there.
Absolutely.
You look at Nova Scotia.
Yes.
You look at even places in Southern Ontario, etc. Buffalo was a huge station on the Underground Railroad, so it makes sense. But there also is a huge, not just immigrant community, but second and third generation and fourth generation in lots of cases as well.
100%.
The people of African descent that have come from other places. So that part of the transatlantic slave trade may not have to do as much with them. I mean, all people of African descent are affected, but with regard to the Canadian piece, so that's why I'm wondering what that would look like. Who gets it? Is it the descendants of the enslaved, like people in Nova Scotia, etc., or how would that look? I wonder.
You know what? You have just incited me to, I'm poll crazy these days.
Okay.
I'm going to put up another poll, and of course, the poll is going to be about, do you believe in reparations for Black people? So I'm putting this poll up in real time. Not sure. Okay, let me just do that. I'm loving the poll feature. I'm loving that people are engaging with it. All right, so this last poll we had, what's Canada's biggest issue here? The biggest response was 100% weak on Black job justice. So that poll is done. Next poll coming up. We have here, do you believe in reparations for Black people? 1, yes, 2, no, 3, not sure. So would love you to vote on that. So, and someone's saying here, Quebec 2. Don't know, you need to expound on that. Quebec 2.
I think they're talking about enslaved Africans who escaped to Quebec. Yeah, it's right above New York State. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So we already have someone vote. We already have votes coming in. Do you believe in reparations for Black people? 1, yes, 2, no, 3, not sure. And then a lot of people I've heard in regards to the reparations for Black people, they are saying Black people should not ask for reparations just from the government. It should also be from private companies that benefited from it.
Oh God. If you want to know what I think about all
Please
this,
go ahead.
of course, the answer, of course, is yes. But if I'm looking at this realistically, they don't have the money they don't have the money to repair this. No amount of money can be reparative for any of this. Let's just be clear. It would be a start, though, in terms of doing things, but they don't have the money to do this. Let's just look at France, okay? And I know we're talking about Canada and stuff, but this is a worldwide issue.
Yeah.
Let's just look at France. You sat there at the Berlin conference or convention and helped in carving up the continent of Africa for yourselves, as if nobody else lived there, because you and your greedy spirits only saw opportunity for non-melanated people. Forget the people that actually own this and live there. So you pillaged and pilfered from the continent forever. Then you had the audacity, the audacity to bring yourselves to the Americas and do the same thing in the Caribbean. You had a lot of the U.S. before it was sold in the Louisiana Purchase, and the Louisiana Purchase actually happened because they were scared of Haiti. Why did the Haitian Revolution happen? Napoleon was like, let's get rid of all of this. And that's what that whole Lewis and Clark expedition and Louisiana Purchase was about. Don't let them tell you any different in school. So fine. After the Haitian Revolution, and Napoleon decided we're getting out of there, and they sold, because they had, the Louisiana Purchase was like a lot that significantly extended the borders of the U.S. and into Spanish territory, right? Almost. So now you are talking about, we are going to send ships to Haiti to force you to pay us reparations for the lost out opportunities of the land we stole. And it's only very recently that Haiti had finished, all of that stuff with the reparations, which they should not have had to pay. France needs to run all that money back with interest, but they could never. If you look at, there's a love-hate relationship with Europe. If you look at the infrastructure in many European countries, you're looking at the architecture with gilded, in gold, with gilded facades and all of that. Where do you think this comes from? Europe doesn't produce anything but sadness and turmoil. They don't produce gold or anything. This comes from other places that had resources. And so you owe all of that because you stole it. You didn't pay. And then when it did come to things like independence, you ensured that there were rulers in there that were friendly. I get so sad every time I hear the story of the Congo and Patrice Lumumba. I get so sad every time I hear that, because it was European powers and American that conspired to have that happen, to have the assassination happen, so that you can continue to get rare earth minerals for pennies on the dollar. It's sickening and it's saddening. So bring all of this forward to abstention votes and all of this. Every single one of you that abstain are somehow personally responsible for the state of the world that we are in currently, and the state of the countries in the global south. This does not abstain rulers and leaders in the global south for what is happening, but that's not the conversation here. And that's where people always like to go, well, these countries, shut up. That's not what we're talking about. If you don't have basic conversation skills, we shouldn't be, or comprehension skills, we shouldn't be having this conversation. So it's just maddening. And the reality is that they're abstaining and voting no, because that means I don't have to admit I did anything, and therefore I don't need to apologize, and I don't need to pay it back.
Okay. Let's update on some comments. Minion Cam says, not sure. I'm born in Canada. My family immigrated here, and how people would qualify in regards to the reparation status for Black Canadians. Also, someone says yes for Africaville and Hogan's Alley and other such instances. So I guess I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, there should be reparations saying there. Another person says it's very hiding in the society from Quebec people. Also, many on campuses, the way they ignore people with disabilities in reparations is going to act the same way. Another person says, yes, they have to pay for sure. All right. So which takes us back to our current poll. Do you believe in reparations for Black Canadians? Right now, yes says 57%, 14% say no, and 29% say not sure. Interesting.
Can I add something really quickly?
No, take your time. We're good.
I think that we have, well, I didn't want to interrupt your trajectory with the poll commentary. I think that we also have a habit as people of African descent of trying to include other people in with the suffering in terms of any reparative damages, right?
Okay.
It's like, okay, other people have suffered too, right? You always hear that. We talk about reparations in terms of us, but then there's also a segment of us that wants to make sure that these people have suffered too, and we're good for Black and brown people and this and this. I think on this one, we can't include other people. We can't include anybody else. This does not negate your suffering. This does not say that you have not suffered, but this particular conversation is about what the world has done to people of African descent and what they need to do to rectify it. If you include other people in this, it waters down the salience of the suffering. So we have to stop including people in the conversation of reparations for people of African descent, because it waters down the conversation.
Okay. All right. JJ Mars says the money is there. U.S. government has been paying the Israeli government and their descendants for reparations for some time, but were never directly involved in Europe's Holocaust. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, they have.
Oh, interesting.
Also, I mean, that goes the same for Britain in a sense. Britain was paying reparations up until 2015 to those that were affected by the loss of the transatlantic slave trade. They just stopped paying reparations in 2015. This is only 11 years ago. So I agree that the money is there, but this is also why the money is not there. It is very, and the thing is, I think sometimes we think that these governments have liquid cash to no, because once they pilfered the money and made money off of us, they then instituted these systems of credit. They then instituted systems where things are tied up, right? So it's not as easy to go to the bank and get them. It's not that simple. It should be, but it's not. So they've instituted ways to protect that money so that it's not so simple to pay and give things back. If you think about it, this is why we're insolvent, right? You think if we had the money on hand, we would be insolvent? Because we trade with American reputation. The promise, people see that, oh, it's America, they'll pay. That's what's always been done. You always get the benefit of the doubt. It is other countries, for example, the countries of the global South, who don't get that benefit of the doubt, right? So it's us that don't get it. But your Western European countries, Canada, the US, they always get the benefit of the doubt. So only speaking for the US, this is why they're trading in hypotheticals. They use monopoly money, not backed by anything. That's why. So this is why the money is not there. It's there probably on paper, but it's technically not there because they've been trading on reputation this entire time.
Okay, so got a comment here. I watched as our tribal records were genocides when others all came after the 1950s to Nova Scotia. Our organic tribes are not Africans, but we are indigenous people from the Americans. Another comment saying here, the framing of who gets what should be based on who extracted from Africa, not where the diaspora is. The diaspora is only looking to gain, I don't know the spelling here, a bit of the wealth that was extracted or is extracted from Africa.
Now that's interesting because I think this is part of the problem with the scuffles that we have amongst people of African descent now, because I'll just say this plainly. My parents came, from Africa. So I'm not expecting to get any reparations from the US government at all, because that's not for me to have. But Britain, count your days, because they're the whole reason my parents could not go back to Nigeria because of the Biafran War, where thousands and thousands of children starved to death as a tactic, and they were backed by Europe in order to do that, and the US in order to do this. So Britain, yeah, I'm looking at you completely in that case. So I think we have to, but I know you all don't have the money to repair for what you did. And it's interesting. The thing is, I said this before, people love to go shopping, but they don't have the money to buy anything. And so that's when they go and steal. So the Europe, and I'm not excusing, oh, well, this country in Europe didn't know, because they all had a hand in something. Every single last one of them had a hand in something, whether they were a benefactor or directly involved. You had a hand in it. So Europe, US, Canada, you all had shopping buggies or shopping carts, and you went to the store with no money. So you decided, well, we will just take it because of who we are. And then this whole thing of credit, and it's interesting, it goes all the way back till then. Because of who they are, they're able to take things and nobody really says much.
How much of this, and I'm just shining the light on people who look like us, how much of this is leaning on our lack of working together? Now, and I know, and when I say that, I know that there are times when we, us African descent people, we do work together, but there's also enough situations when we don't work together. If we were more an organized group, do you feel that would push the reparations meter further ahead?
I think that's partially to do with it. I think there's also, I think the bigger piece is, though, a lack of clarity, because, and I don't know this for sure, but somebody else who has more intel on this or information on this can say that I don't see any concerted plan by us. We can't wait for them to give a plan. I don't see any concerted plan by us of how this should be carried out, what needs to happen. This demand from the UN in terms of recognition is the first wide plan, quote unquote, that I've seen. And that's not even really a plan. That's just asking a referendum, asking people to vote on a referendum that this did happen and it was the most terrible thing.
Okay, you got go ahead. Agreed. No, continue.
Sorry. Well, people agreed, but what's the plan in place? Great, it's terrible. Now what? So I think the bigger issue, in my opinion, is that we don't have a concerted plan. So I think, yeah, the lack of unity is a big thing, because an ununified people can't do much of anything. But then you're unified, and now what?
And also, I would think also unified economic unified economic resources. I think that the money is there, but we should pool it together and use it for certain fights. Not every fight, but certain fights.
Well, it's hard to do that when you now have been indoctrinated into Western ways of this is mine. How many people do you know out of us that would really want to pool resources together to do things aside from individually? Because, you know, we all have the concept of, you know, the susu, those of you
Yep.
from the Caribbean and Africa, and even in like the American South,
Yep.
do that. You may call it something different, but the original concept comes from Africa as susu. That's the whole thing, where everybody pours into the pot and one person gets it to expand. So it's like a looking after your brother and sister to ensure that the entire, because it is the we above the me. But we don't really, as a whole, do that in terms of whole communities, etc. Because we've been indoctrinated in the Western individualism of this belongs to me, so this is for me,
Yeah.
my wife, my 2 kids, and maybe the dog.
And also it gets back to 3 of the biggest challenges, I think, for a number of melanated people: trauma, repetition, and symbolism. And there's still a lot of trauma in the melanated environment, but that's a whole
Oh my
other
gosh.
conversation. That's a whole other,
Yes.
which trauma and lack of trust. Some comments here. They have it for everything else, but when it comes to foundational Black Americans, the empty speech starts.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dr. Tatchie. I know
Well,
you have something to say, so go ahead.
But this is what I'm talking about in terms of the disunity. Now, I 100% get the foundational Black American context of speaking about things, because it makes sense. There are, in this country, I can only speak about the U.S., people of African descent that were brought here built the foundation of this country. Let's be real. What I don't agree with is the forced division and then some of the misrepresentation of many people that are in I call them the FBA Hotep community. They are making wide claims in terms of using, I guess, Ivan Van Sertima's They Came Before Columbus as the basis for this, that they existed in the Americas before enslavement. Now, this is true. There are people of African descent that were in the Americas before enslavement, but that is not everybody. The vast majority of people of African descent in this Western hemisphere came because of the transatlantic slave trade. And I think it's disingenuous and wrong to spread information otherwise. All you have to do is do a DNA test and it will show you where you came from. Okay? So I dislike when people use that as the basis and nobody else should get it because FBA, where did you come from before this? So that's where my thing is. So your history starts with enslavement. Is this what you're telling? Well, no, they're actually saying that they were here before. That argument is flawed. So I have a problem when it comes to that. I do believe in foundational Black American, in the ideal of that, because they did build it. But I don't like the dis, and malinformation that comes with that, and the hatred pointed at other Black people that are not them.
Okay. More comments coming here. We've got, let me just do here. We have Laura says, we've proven our court cases here in Nova Scotia as people who holds treaties that Canada sits. Nothing was spent in any of our communities. Now Canada supports everyone but the organic tribes. Also, JJ Mars from Colorado says, Obama paid reparations to descendants of Holocaust victims, but conveniently changed the subject when he was pressed about Black American reparations. Yes, I've seen those interviews. And Laura
Absolutely.
said, yep. And Laura says, well, if you wanted to comment on that, Dr. Tatchie, before I move on to the next comment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I don't know why we're expecting different. When the power to do a lot of things for a first time first-time Black president was not there. Now, this does not excuse him from not doing those things, not at all. But we have to look at this from a point of, was that really something that was going to be possible with the full support of it? Because he can't just do these things on his own. Remember, you need Congress in order to do these things. Do you think that was going to fly with Congress? So that's what we have to look at, that type of thing at that time was not going to happen.
Well,
I think something like this is going to take a larger international push for that really to happen. Go ahead, sorry.
well, some people will say, well, look at the current president of the U.S. He just signs executive orders and pushes through things.
Yes, but that is not the way that things are supposed to be done. You can't just do whatever you like when you are the head of state.
Well, some people would. Well, some people would say it's not supposed to, but he's still doing it.
Yes, I know, but that doesn't make it right. The fact that people steal doesn't make it right.
Mm-hmm.
You may be stealing for a reason, but it's still stealing, right? Yeah. So we can cover it up with however we want. The point is that the way the democratic system is made is so that there are checks and balances, so that no one person can do whatever they like. He's doing whatever he likes, but he's also being allowed to do whatever he likes, right? There are people around him that are letting that happen. So that's the major problem, that yes, he's doing whatever he likes, but that's not the way the system is designed. It's actually all illegal. The way our system is designed, it's all illegal. We know he doesn't care anything about law. We know none of them care anything about law. But up until this point, at least people acted like they cared within acting in the confines of the law.
Okay, Laura goes back to what you can prove. Who are the indentured servants to paid own messages over to Canada and the United States corporations? Most are upset that we do not want to accept their slave narrative. Mignon Kemp says, Susu is not something I was ever exposed to, as many of my family always reminds me I'm Canadian. And then J.J. Marr says, to be politically unified would first require to be economically independent and self-sustaining. I hear on that point. Mignon Kemp says, I'm born in Canada, and what they're going to find in my DNA. And then Norman Good says, Tariq's roots are Nigerian. He is promoting tribalism.
Wait, who's Tariq?
Don't know. I don't know. Got to explain who Tariq is. And then Mignon Kemp says, 23andMe cannot get my DNA right. And, didn't they have a leak or a breach of their platform?
No, they dismantled. Well, I don't know if there was a breach, but they actually dismantled. So that's why they were like, okay, if you use 23andMe, you need to go and request your DNA back or whatever, because that's the thing. And that's the danger with some of these things that you have to think about. I don't know why they wouldn't have, I don't know if Ancestry offered to buy them or what the case would have been, but that would have been my first thought. But there is a Black-owned company called African Ancestry that does that. And it really is concerned mostly with your African ancestry.
100%.
So if that's what you're looking for, that's a company to look at.
All right. We're going to start winding it down again. If anyone hasn't voted, you got a few seconds left. Do you believe in a poll? Do you believe in reparations for Black people? 1 is yes, 2 is no, 3 not sure. Going to give you a few more seconds. All right. We lost myself for a second. I thought we were gone. All right. But so I didn't realize it, but this Friday is in the Christian calendar, Good Friday.
Good Friday, yeah.
And usually I say, doesn't Good Friday happen usually later? In the
it happens at different times each year, because it's not like generally.
Yeah.
It goes by, what is it, the Gregorian calendar or whatever?
I have no idea. And I so don't know if we'll be broadcasting live or not. I found it from Ryan. I may go on for a few minutes. We'll see what happens. Next Monday, a week from today, Donovan Martin from the Daily Scrum will be with us this weekend coming up. We'll definitely do everything, all things being good. We'll be doing a prime time. I'm speaking on Sunday coming up. Cesar Dima Musa will be on and would love to get his take about the reparations, because he has spoken at the United Nations the last 3 years in a row about this particular subject. Got some more things here. We got to come here saying, and maybe you want to respond to this, Dr. Tatchie, if Obama was really for Black people, he would have pushed reparations through. I think you talked about that, but is there anything you want to add on to that comment?
I still think there was no way.
Okay.
He could be for it as much as he likes. There are powers. The infrastructure has to be for it. You know, the thing is, we can want it and love it as much as possible, but if the infrastructure doesn't facilitate that, it's impossible.
All right. So Norman, Onward in Richmond, clarify itself. Tariq Nasheed, Mr. FBA.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. And then JJ Mar says 23andMe was not all that accurate with their results.
Oh.
All right.
Interesting.
Very.
I was interested in doing that because my thing is, yeah, just because I'm Nigerian doesn't mean that I know all the parts that are in me, regardless. So I was interested to see, okay, well, I know we probably migrated from someplace else in Africa. Where was that? So I was interested for that thing, but then something like this happens where a company shuts down.
All right. I think that is it for today. Let's stop the poll. So final results of our poll. And I want to say, people who watch live, thank you for being willing to take part in the polls in real time. Did 3 polls today. This is the show so far that's had the most engagement of polls so far. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. So the final poll, final results. Do you believe in reparations for Black people? 63% said yes. 13% said no, and 25% said not sure. So that is it for the polls for today's show. Love it, love it, love it. Dr. Tatchie, what do you have going on this week? Anything we need to know about, share with the family?
No, just normal normal stuff. Nothing earth-shattering. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, well, as always, want to say thank you for Dr. Tatchie for jumping in. If people want to chat with you, Dr. Tatchie, where can they go?
Oh, well, you can get to all of my things on Linktree.
Yes.
And if you go to linktr.ee/Dr_Tatchie, so Linktree, just the dot before the 2 E's, /Dr_Tatchie. All of my links are there. So
yeah, I put it up on the screen. Just wanted to make.
Okay, I see it.
So yeah, so everything got done proper. And so again, everyone, thank you so much in regards to this. Thank you to Emma. Thank you to Ryan, as always. Thank you to all people who are watching live on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. So let's take care of some of our final stuff, our final homework here. So let's do here. Okay, so we did it earlier on, but I'll do it again. If you want to get a hold of Ryan, RyanOneilKnight.com. And that's Knight with a KN, not an N. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. Join our Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com or click on that link you see on screen. Most of this is in the comments section where you're watching this. My platforms live or on the replay. Advertise your business, product, or service on the platforms I'm a part of. Email me dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Since Dr. Taj is here, support Indie Soup TV. There's the link there, youtube.com /@ @Indie Soup Media. ADNC Narrative Power Summit, which I'll be hosting, and I'm blessed to do that, and also have leading the panel discussions. Also, help shape the morning vibe. Take a 2-minute survey. Your voice matters. So hit that link you see in the comments. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm also going to put it in all the comments that people are watching live on the replay. So let me just do that. That is done now. All right. And then finally, if you want to get a hold of me also, you do this. taplink.cc/the-VIBESHOW.com. And then finally, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Afro Caribbean Business Network, and Ryan Oneil Knight on YouTube. Wow, this is a beautiful show. I didn't know how it was going to go today, but it went beautiful, as my dad would say. So this is how we finish. Yes, this is how we finish off. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger. Aim better. Aim higher. Aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. But try to do both and make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith while good. And don't know if we'll be on live or not on Friday, but we'll be doing something on Friday. Just don't know yet. Be well and keep the faith. Bye.